having the choice to actually join the bad guys is sometimes a sign of a really good story-based video game. It shows that the devs aren't afraid to let you play exactly the way you want to play, even if it means flipping their narrative on its head and turning your character into a member of their own gallery of villains. However, just because you have the choice to be evil doesn't mean you should necessarily do it. Not because it's morally wrong, don't get me wrong, but simply because in some games, somewhere down the line, following the villain's path will inevitably backfire on you. While letting your darker side show can certainly be fun, you just don't want to hitch your wagon to these particular villains. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are 10 video game villains you can secretly side with and immediately regret. Number 10, The Institute. Fallout 4. The Institute and its scientists serve as the primary antagonists of Fallout 4, being the mysterious boogeymen of the Commonwealth that kidnap the Wasteland's residents in order to conduct dangerous experiments. The game hypes up the Institute to be the ultimate evil, but once, spoiler alert, their leader turns out to be your lost son Sean, you do get the option to join them. From that point on, you may try to see the Institute in a different light, as a potential solution for resolving the horrors of the post-apocalypse. The game even teases you with dialogue lines that suggest you could turn the Institute into a group that helps people, instead of carelessly experimenting on them. Unfortunately, when you finish the game on the Institute side and become its new director, it quickly becomes evident that your supposed position of power can't actually influence anything going on in the faction, and you're basically stuck ruling a populace that mistreats synths and kidnaps innocent people. What's worse is that regarding your remaining companions, you have to choose either to kill or estrange them, leaving you with nothing but regret. Number 9, Liberty, Wasteland 3. In Wasteland 3, you play as the Arizona Rangers, who seek to make an alliance with Colorado's leader, the Patriarch, in order to help your people win a losing war back home. Your team has little time, scarce resources, and hundreds of lives that depend on the success of their mission. So naturally, instead of doing what you were sent to Colorado for, you should probably opt for helping a warmongering raider terrorize the local land. Liberty, one of the Patriarch's rebelling children that he asks you to capture for him, is a raider queen who serves as a secret faction that your team of rangers can join. In order to do so, you need to convince her to let you join her army raiders, with an incredibly hard kiss-ass check upon meeting her, which will then jump you straight to the ending credits and the final cutscene. Now, although Liberty's kiss-ass check is high, the ending you get this way isn't really worth it. Your new boss's campaign is successful, but the cutscene shows that your decision leads to the defeat of the Rangers in Arizona, and that your team in Colorado suffers great losses while fighting Liberty's wars. So I don't know, maybe next time we should just stick to the plan. Number 8, Clavicus Vile, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Clavicus the Vile is one of the Daedric princes in the Elder Scrolls series, and the central figure of a quest in Skyrim called a Daedra's Best Friend. Being the Daedric Prince of Mischief who grants mortal monkey paw style wishes, Clavicus is obviously not a great guy, and he tries to make a not very good deal with you right towards the end of his personal quest. The quest's main objective is to help Clavicus's dog and moral guide Barbas reunite with his master. However, because Clavicus is reluctant to let Barbas back into his life, he agrees to reunite with him only if you bring him an artifact that's called the Rueful Axe. When you bring the weapon to him, Clavicus will make you an offer. He'll let you keep the axe if you kill Barbas with it. Now, because the axe is a unique Daedric artifact, you might think it's worth making a bargain with the Prince of Mischief. However, the weapon is about as strong as a regular iron axe, and siding with Clavicus prevents you from getting his other artifact, the Mask of Clavicus Vile, which is considered to be one of the best items in the game. And so the monkey's paw curls again. Although this one might be on you. I'm not even a dog person and I wouldn't do that. Number 7, Arasaka, Cyberpunk 2077. The Arasaka Corporation are the unequivocal villains of Cyberpunk 2077's universe, and that's saying a lot given Night City is home to a ton of different villains. Not only are they a ruthless corporation largely responsible for the miserable state of the world, they're also the ones who've created the Soul Killer chip, which is slowly destroying V's body. This said, the secret ending where you side with the corporation is one of the only ways to save V's life in the end, although the offer comes at a price. price. To get the ending, you need to save Goro, call Hanako Arasaka for help with your worsening condition, and then, in the final act, choose to betray your friends and join Goro in storming Arasaka Tower to avenge the death of the corporation's leader, Saburo. After the mission is complete, you'll get a cutscene where Arasaka scientists remove your biochip. When the procedure is done, V will be asked to sign a contract that will permit Arasaka to transport their consciousness into a chip, effectively turning them into the corporation's property. Refusing to sign the contract isn't a great alternative either, as without the chip, V only has 6 months to live, alone, and with no place to go. The achievement you get for siding with Arasaka is called the Devil, and I guess this one now explains itself. Number 6. Zlatko. Detroit Become Human. The androids you control in Detroit Become Human can all suffer some pretty terrible fates. However, the unequivocal number 1 spot to the I wouldn't want to be in your shoes category has to go to Kara in the secret Zlatko ending. Zlatko is the eponymous villain of the 17th chapter of Kara and Alice's storylines. He captures deviant androids by pretending to be a smuggler that can help them escape to Canada, and then conducts inhumane experiments on their bodies. If you fall for Zlatko's ruse and let him wipe Kara's memories, the girl will become Zlatko's brainwashed servant. At that point, you can use clues inside your new owner's mansion to gradually regain your memories, but if you're curious to see what will happen if you stay compliant and side with Zlatko, you're in for rather disturbing imagery. Ignoring the clues will lock Kara in a permanent servant mode and trigger a cutscene where she becomes a mindless puppet to be tortured and experimented on by her captor. It's an instant game over that not only ends Kara's story, but also leaves you with the mental scars of watching what sort of messed up things are happening in Zlatko's home. It's not good. Number 5. Caesar's Legion. Fallout New Vegas. Caesar's Legion from Fallout New Vegas is a faction that exemplifies a lot of questionable, if not downright condemnable qualities. Among their practices of slavery, raiding, and crucifixions, the group also fosters an inherent hatred of women, whom Caesar's Legionnaires view as inferior to men. Despite this, you can, surprisingly enough, join the Legion as a woman. However, your great efforts to convince their genocidal Boy Scout team to let you into their club will not really yield an appropriately great reward. You see, as a female legionary, you have to constantly prove yourself to your fellow Legion members. Yet despite this, the group will still prevent you from participating in a lot of activities happening in camp. For example, you'll be permanently banned from entering the fighting arena, no matter how great your fame within the faction is, and all the Legionnaires that you'd normally be able to grow your reputation with will keep ignoring you and treating you with contempt. Luckily, if you made the mistake of aligning yourself with the Legion as a woman, the option to go for the independent Vegas ending is still on the table, so might want to eye that one off. Number 4. Kerghan. Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic Obscura. Arcanum is an old-school isometric RPG set in a steampunk fantasy world where magic and technology constantly clash with each other, changing the balance of the world's forces. The main villain of the game is Kerghan, an old and powerful necromancer who seeks to eradicate all life in the world because, in his view, life is an unnatural state of existence, which only brings pain and suffering to those who are subjected to it. With this kind of unlife philosophy, Kerghan is obviously an irredeemable villain, or a millennial who grew up in the emo era. However, this doesn't mean you can't join him on a quest. It just means that you shouldn't expect it to end well. When you confront Kerghan in the final act of the game, you can agree to join him in eradicating all life by choosing a specific sequence of dialogue options. This decision will lead to, unsurprisingly, the destruction of all life in Arcanum's universe. And yes, again, unsurprisingly, that does include you and your team. Who would have thought joining forces with a genocidal necromancer would lead to the full genocide of your party? Wild. Number 3. Prince LaCroix, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. I'm not 100% sure if this guy's name is said like the sparkling water, but I will be saying it that way. The world of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is full of shady, blood-sucking characters, but if there's one antagonist all vampires can agree is the objective villain of the story, it's probably Ming-Xiao. Ming-Xiao serves as the priestess of the mysterious Kuei Jin, a breed of Asian vampires that seeks to eradicate all their Western brethren and take control over the Los Angeles area. For this reason, Zhao serves as the villain in most of the game's endings, but surprisingly, if you act nicely towards her throughout different moments in the game, you can reach an ending where you ally yourself with her instead and her vampire-hating friends. If the premise of a Western bloodsucker aligning themselves with creatures that hate their kind sounds too good to be true, it's because it kind of is, like the last entry, and the ones before it, and the ones that'll come after. After you get rid of all the vampire sex for Xiao, the priestess immediately betrays you by locking you inside a sarcophagus and then dropping it to the bottom of the ocean, stating the Kuei Jin could never host a Western vampire among their ranks. In hindsight, the twist was pretty obvious to figure out. Number 2, the Grox, Spore. The Grox are the villainous species of cyborgs from Max's life simulator, Spore. They're feared throughout the galaxy thanks to their ruthlessly hostile nature, as well as their blatant disregard for all living things. This said, if the above description has somehow made you think the Grox would make amazing friends, Spore does offer you the option to sign an alliance with them. The process of becoming friends with the Grox is incredibly difficult and very easy to mess up, as the species has a permanent negative opinion of you, and the slightest bit of additional hostility can be impossible to remove. However, if you put all your efforts into it and throw in a couple of war crimes against organics, the Grox will be amused enough by your diplomatic plays, they'll agree to ally with you, and then completely ruin your campaign. As soon as you sign your soul to the Grox, every other species in the galaxy will declare war on you and start attacking your colony planets. To make things worse, all your new friends will have to say about the matter is that they're satisfied with turning you into their new puppet. Never trust a cyborg. Number 1, Dumet, the Devil in Me. The Devil in Me is the final entry in the first season of the Dark Pictures anthology series from Supermassive Games. The game takes place inside an antique hotel, where a group of filmmakers is trying to escape the clutches of a crazed serial killer called Mr. Dumet. Although the film crew are the victims of Mr. Dumet, there is a way for you to ally yourself with him in one of the game's secret endings. To get the ending, you need to kill everyone except for Kate and Mark. In the final act, Dumet will capture both of them and then try to coerce Mark into helping him lure more victims into the hotel, under the threat of killing his friend with acid. Agreeing to help the killer will trigger a special cutscene where Mark and Kate welcome Dumet's new victims to the hotel, and then head to a ferry to escape his clutches. However, if you thought your sacrifice of innocent lives would go unpunished, you have another thing coming. As soon as Mark and Kate are a safe distance from the hotel, the ferry stops, and you can hear 2 gunshots, indicating that Dumet got him in the end anyway. Well, you might have got what you deserved on that one.